His hands quivered ever so slightly as they followed the gentle contour of my waist, not from anxiety, but from restraining something more profound. As I leaned in, my heart raced, and my breath became uneven. Thoughts of age or judgment were far from my mind. In that moment, I was struck by a profound sense of vitality, how perceived, how desired. And when our lips met, it was anything but reckless. The stillness enveloped the moment, a certainty that had been forged over the span of many years. Sharing my home was never part of my plan, particularly not with a 24-year-old sporting a crooked smile and a penchant for leaving cereal bowls in the sink. Yet, life never seeks consent before altering the ground beneath you. The calendar had turned to late May in Bozeman, Montana. The lake behind my house had recently awakened from its winter slumber, and the mornings were imbued with that familiar blend of dew and pine, a scent that stirred my joints with a delightful ache. At 52, I had crafted a life that I could navigate with ease. Uncomplicated, serene, and reliable. As I settled by the window with a stack of classic novels, the late afternoon sun bathed my garden in warmth. I filled the quietude of the house with the smooth sounds of jazz records and the comforting aroma of strong tea. Then arrived Ethan. He was the child of my dearest companion from my college days, Carla. She departed last autumn, and when I extended the invitation of my guest room to her son as he sought employment post-college, I reassured myself that it was merely a fleeting arrangement, a span of a few weeks, perhaps a month, just sufficient for him to find his footing. He came bearing a single suitcase, 2 boxes filled with books, and eyes that mirrored hers in a way I wasn't prepared to face. "Thanks for letting me crash here," he had said on that first day, lingering in my doorway, clad in an oversized hoodie, his weight shifting as if caught between the urge to step inside or retreat to the car. I recall observing him tall, lean, with a softness hidden beneath the scruff on his jawand, thinking, God, you really are still a boy. Yet, I welcomed him in. Initially, he was subdued, demonstrating a sense of respect, consistently volunteering to prepare meals or handle the refuse. He lingered in slumber, surrendering to the embrace of the morning, only to extend his wakefulness into the depths of night, often found at the kitchen counter, fingers dancing over his laptop keys as I prepared tea in the quiet hours before sleep. We maintained a veneer of politeness, treading lightly as if we were mere acquaintances masquerading as family, until that fateful Thursday morning. The sky draped itself in a gentle gray, while the air clung with a warm, humid embrace, a precursor to the full arrival of summer. I had just emerged from the shower, enveloping myself in a well-worn cotton robe that had long ago lost its charm. I never imagined anyone would be present. Ethan had spoken of encountering a friend in town, so I allowed my hair to dry naturally and quietly padded barefoot into the kitchen. As I swirled the honey into my tea, a sudden movement caught my attention, and I almost let the mug slip from my grasp. Ethan stood there, bare-chested, glistening with moisture from what appeared to be a vigorous run, earbuds hanging loosely around his neck. His chest rose and fell with a steady rhythm, his skin flushed from exertion, and his eyes, a vivid green like his mother's, widened in surprise when he realized I hadn't heard him come in. "Apologies," he murmured, extending his hand toward a towel draped over the back of a chair and pressing it against his face. "I didn't intend to catch you off guard." "It's your house, too," I replied, my fingers tightening around the mug more than was needed. "Somewhat," he chuckled awkwardly, his fingers grazing the nape of his neck. "It seems I've misplaced my key. I took a jog and thought you wouldn't mind my entering through the side." I assured him that everything was all right. It was acceptable, yet there was an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere that morning. More compact. "Take your time." I settled into my chair, the fabric of my robe drawing snug against me, as he filled a glass with water. A bead of sweat trickled from his neck to his collarbone, compelling me to redirect my attention to the steam wafting from my tea. He observed. I understand he did, yet he remained silent. Instead, he positioned himself opposite me, rhythmically tapping his fingers against the edge of his glass. "Do you rise this early every day?" he inquired. It is only in the profound silence of the house, when sleep eludes, that one truly feels the weight of the stillness. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Indeed. The atmosphere here is one of serene stillness. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. Then he uttered a remark that took me by surprise. "There was a time when I would visit this place with my mother. Long ago. You baked oatmeal cookies, and that wind chime in the backyard drove me to distraction." A smile graced my lips. "It continues to do so." "I removed it just last autumn." He gazed at me, a gentle warmth spreading across his features. It lingers in my mind. She was the type of woman who seemed to have everything in perfect order, as if you possessed a secret that eluded the rest of us. I chuckled softly, tinged with a hint of melancholy. I was completely unaware. I simply understood the art of folding linens and wearing a smile even in moments of pain. He remained silent, devoid of laughter. Simply observed me. His jaw tightened in that familiar manner that men often adopt when they're struggling to suppress words they believe ought to remain unspoken. He finally spoke. "I don't believe you're that way anymore." The words lingered in the space between the tea and the stillness. The soft cotton robe envelops me, while the steam dances in the air around me. Then, a change occurred. Not among us, not at this moment, yet within me. That day unfolded gradually. Reminiscent of the initial chapters of a book that you have yet to recognize will alter something within you. Following breakfast, Ethan vanished into his room with his laptop, mentioning he had some applications to complete. I fell back into my familiar routine, nurturing the herbs on the windowsill, meticulously folding the laundry, and straightening up the corners of the house that hardly required it. Yet my mind wandered endlessly, not to the child in the extra room, but to the adult, to the manner in which he had gazed at me that morning. Not through flirtation, not with clumsiness, yet there was a spark of curiosity aimed at me that I hadn't experienced in years. Following my divorce, I had subtly persuaded myself that desire was a relic of a bygone era. I tucked it neatly among the photo albums, birthday cards, and that one red silk dress that had remained untouched for a decade. Men of my generation seemed to either have embraced the comforts of stability or sought to recapture their youth through the company of someone 2 decades their junior. Younger men, too. Indeed, they cast no second glance at women such as myself. I was under the impression that they did not. It was all fine, that is, until Ethan arrived. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the evening unfolded, marked by the comforting aroma of roast chicken lingering in the air after dinner. There he was, my favorite, perched on the back porch, leaning against the railing, lost in thought as he gazed out at the lake. The sun had descended to a point where it bathed the world in a warm, golden hue. "Are you all right?" I inquired, as I stepped out with a glass of wine in hand. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Indeed, lost, in contemplation. A perilous inclination, a smile graced my lips. He smiled as well, yet the warmth never touched his eyes. Have you ever pondered the rapid pace at which everything unfolds? One moment, you're a child, scaling the heights of trees, and the next, as you sit across from another, a realization dawns upon you. They no longer perceive you as a child. I paused for a moment, then took a sip of my wine. It all hinges on the individual in question. He turned, fixing me with a gaze that remained unwavering. "I was referring to you." A gentle breeze swept through the air at that moment. Gentle, nearly remorseful. It brushed against the hem of my cardigan, bringing with it the delicate aroma of lake water and lilac. I settled into the weathered wooden chair next to him. "Did you know your mother once occupied that very spot?" I gestured toward the place where he rested, nodding in acknowledgement. She would step outside with her coffee in hand, slip off her sandals, and share her weariness of constantly putting on a brave face. He gulped. She possessed an undeniable strength. Indeed, I witnessed it as well. She longed for someone to recognize her as more than merely a single mother managing the chaos of life. "What about you?" I inquired. "How do you wish to be perceived?" He regarded me with a measured gaze, as if assessing the weight of what I might be able to bear, listening intently. This is not a project, not a child, not merely a visitor in another's abode, merely a genuine soul, a person whose potential exceeds the perceptions of others. I inclined my head in agreement. That is a commendable aspiration. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. And what of you? I cast a fleeting look his way, caught in a web of uncertainty about the truth I should reveal. Yet the silence had lingered long enough between us to deserve something genuine.
I desire to be acknowledged as well. I spoke, not as one who had the opportunity, and allowed it to slip away. Not like the woman who maintains her garden with precision, while her feelings remain neatly tucked away in the linen closet. Yet, as a female, a soul that continues to experience emotion, a soul that continues to embrace curiosity. The final word hung in the air, suspended in the silence that enveloped us. He advanced a fraction nearer, insufficient to shatter anything, yet substantial enough to resonate. I understand that. And for once, I held my gaze steady. That night, slumber eluded me. It wasn't quite insomnia. It was more akin to a persistent hum beneath my skin. A subtle, restless thrum that was unrelated to caffeine, yet entirely connected to the weight of Ethan's words. I reclined in the stillness of my bed. The windows creaked ajar, inviting the gentle symphony of the lake, the languid caress of water against the dock. A fleeting splash, a fish breaking the surface in its eagerness. His gaze on me from the porch lingered in my mind, not in a manner that is inappropriate, but with purpose. As if he had glimpsed something forbidden, an image that lingered in his mind, impossible to erase. With soft steps, I rose and made my way down the hallway, my feet whispering against the cool floor, merely to fetch a glass of water. That is precisely what I conveyed to myself. Yet, I lingered momentarily outside the guest room. The door stood ajar. His light remained illuminated. I rapped gently at the door. "Are you awake?" A moment of stillness. Subsequently, "Indeed." Rest eludes me as well. I nudged the door with a soft touch. He sat upright in bed, a tome resting gently upon his lap, without a shirt. The gentle illumination of the lamp enveloped him in a cozy aura, creating a tender embrace around his shoulders. His hair had a charming disarray. His expression wavered, caught in a web of uncertainty. Yet unguarded, "I was merely inquiring about your well-being." I uttered those words, though uncertainty lingered as to why they had come to me. He offered a subtle smile. "That was your refrain whenever I fell ill during those sleepovers in my childhood. You would gently open the door and murmur it in that very manner." A soft chuckle escaped my lips. Certain habits prove remarkably resilient. He placed the book down gently. "Would you like to step inside?" There was a moment of uncertainty. Not that I lacked the desire, yet I did. And the part of me that had devoted years to propriety, to courtesy, to caution, was beginning to falter in its struggle. As I crossed the threshold, I entered the space, perched on the brink of the bed, near, yet just out of reach. The warmth radiated from his skin, enveloping me in a gentle embrace. The scent of his aftershave lingered in the air, refined and understated. "If this feels strange, I can leave," I declared. "It feels entirely normal." He responded in a hushed tone. "It seems to be the first thing that has truly resonated in quite a while." The subtle vibration beneath my skin. The sound intensified. He cast his gaze downward, a hint of shyness in his demeanor. "This was once the stuff of my dreams, being near you. Yet, it remained nothing more than a mere dream." "What comes next?" I inquired. He raised his gaze, unwavering, serene. "At this moment, I am fully aware that I am not lost in a dream." A silence enveloped us, rich with the weight of unspoken thoughts and emotions, brimming with all that remained unnamed. As I extended my hand toward him, he remained unflinching. Instead, he raised it to his lips, pressed my lips to it with the utmost tenderness, with deep reverence. I nearly lost the very essence of inhalation. "Please feel free to ask me to cease at any time," he uttered. At any moment. I am here to listen. I did not. I inclined my body slightly, just enough to catch a glimpse, sufficient for my forehead to touch his. Our breaths intertwined in a delicate dance. In that tender moment, suspended between instinct and choice, between the weight of history and the allure of what could be, I let my eyelids fall shut. Release your grip. The distance that once separated us dissolved into nothingness. With a single breath, his lips met mine, gentle and unhurried, not asserting. Exercise caution. As if he hesitated to rouse me, fearing this might truly be a dream. My fingers curled gently around his shoulder. His hand lingered at my waist, not forcing, merely grasping, anchoring me, as though we both understood we were crossing a threshold from which there was no return. The kiss grew more intense. Progress remained sluggish, yet purposeful. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. There is no tempest of youthful cravings. The hushed fervor of two souls who had lingered in the shadows, yearning for this moment of recognition. I adjusted my position, and the robe I had carelessly donned earlier slipped a bit at the collar. Ethan's gaze darted to mine, seeking my approval. I did not express my agreement. I found it unnecessary. He leaned in, his fingers grazing my jaw softly, then gliding down the side of my neck with a touch as light as a whisper. Nearly sacred. My breath caught in my throat. As he softly uttered my name, there was no trace of longing in his voice. It was accompanied by a delicate essence, as if he were astonished to find himself expressing it in such a manner, as if it could shatter with the slightest utterance. The robe cascaded from one shoulder, the fabric gliding effortlessly like a gentle stream. Ethan's hand glided to the small of my back. He took his time. He seemed to decelerate, as though each step toward intimacy posed a question, and he was attuned to my body for the response. Every area his fingers left untouched buzzed with a tantalizing sensation, my skin alive with anticipation. As he finally drew me softly onto his lap, his arms encircling my waist, the warmth of his chest pressed against mine, I sensed that this was more than mere heat. This captured the gaze. This was existence. This was an individual who had patiently bided their time, and now was determined not to squander the opportunity before them. After that, words eluded us. This was unscripted. Simply breath, skin, and a gradual yearning intimacy that no longer required consent. I swayed with him, both in harmony and resistance, my fingers entwined in his hair as his lips traced a path along my throat. Just as the moment started to fade into uncertainty, I hesitated for a brief instant, merely to behold the depths of his gaze, merely to confirm. He gazed at me as if I were neither a recollection, nor an illusion, nor a source of remorse. He regarded me as though I were truly present. The hours slipped away, smooth and elusive, like silk gliding through fingers. There was a silence between us that lingered for some time. It was unnecessary. The atmosphere in the room had transformed, heavy with a gentle affection, and an unspoken tension that lingered between us, unnamed and unacknowledged. I reclined against him, one arm gracefully resting on his stomach, attuned to the steady cadence of his breath beneath my hand. Ethan gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and murmured, "I didn't foresee any of this. The moment struck me, I felt an undeniable urge to be in your presence." I pressed my lips against the delicate skin of his wrist, a gentle, lingering caress that conveyed sentiments beyond mere gratitude. At times, the quietest moments hold the deepest intimacy. They remain hushed, motionless, a breath exchanged between them, a gentle touch resting at the curve of your back. The profound presence of someone who is truly committed to being there. He finally adjusted his position, his shirt crumpled, eyes lingering in a peculiar blend of wonder and incredulity. "Are you all right?" he inquired. "I find myself in a state of contentment." I spoke, gently smoothing the sheet beside me. "It seems I have finally emerged from the depths of slumber. Before we proceed, if tonight's tale has awakened something within you that has remained silent for far too long, I would be truly grateful for your support on this journey of storytelling. At this very moment, you have the opportunity to engage with a super chat or a super sticker. It's a subtle affirmation, a gentle nudge to continue onward. It allows me to continue sharing these deeply personal and sincere human narratives. Let us return to Ethan clasped. He bent down once more, not driven by haste, but by a sense of wonder. It was as if he yearned to rediscover the intricate terrain of my being, to explore every nuance anew. I allowed him to proceed. His mouth glided deliberately over my collarbone, tracing a route with the tenderness of one who had come to appreciate the essence of patience. Our bodies danced as if we were old friends, familiar in ways that transcended time, as if a hidden part of us had been patiently anticipating this moment all along. When it concluded, if one could even refer to it as a conclusion, we remained motionless, only bodies intertwined, breaths synchronized, fingers gently entwined, devoid of regrets or guilt, enveloped in the profound stillness that accompanies the essence of authenticity. He faced me, his voice barely above a whisper. I desire for this to be more than just a fleeting moment. I understood, I replied, and deep down, I was certain that I didn't desire it to be that way either. The following morning, sunlight cascaded through the kitchen window, casting a gentle golden hue across the room. I stood barefoot on the cool tile floor, pouring 2 cups of coffee as I had done countless times before. Yet, there was an unmistakable shift in the air. Ethan lingered at the table, his hair still disheveled from slumber, his gaze tracking my every action, not with a ravenous desire, but with a more subdued, unwavering intensity. Honor. I offered him his cup, and he accepted it with both hands, as if it held a significance beyond its simple form. Silence enveloped us as we sipped, our eyes tracing the dance of the wind through the leaves beyond the window. The world outside hummed on, blissfully unaware of the shifts that had occurred, indifferent to the changes that lay beneath the surface. Following breakfast, we strolled through the backyard, our bare feet meeting the cool, dewy grass beneath us. In a fleeting moment, Ethan extended his hand and grasped mine. No words, only the gentle intertwining of fingers, as if it were the most instinctive act in existence. In due course, we found ourselves seated beneath the venerable maple tree by the rear fence. I faced him and spoke. This need not be something we label today, or even tomorrow. Yet it is genuine, and it holds significance. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. I require no designation. All I seek is truthfulness. And whatever this evolves into, I desire it to be anchored in that. Perhaps that was the most mature statement either of us had ever uttered. True love, the enduring kind, the one that is cultivated, does not start with grand displays of fireworks. It commences in quietude, in presence, in persistence. If you find yourself still engaged with this, perhaps you've experienced a moment akin to mine, weary of the passage of time, persuaded that the dawn of new beginnings fades after a particular age. Allow me to share a lesson I grasped only after the moment had passed. Tranquility is not true peace when it is founded on fear. Embrace the freedom to feel once more, despite the world's insistence that your moment has come and gone. If this narrative resonated with you, if it echoed the whispers of your own unwritten tale, consider supporting the channel with a super chat or super sticker. Your generosity breathes life into these narratives, and your voice, your very being, contributes in ways you may not fully realize. Ultimately, tales such as this transcend mere scandal or fantasy. They revolve around the act of awakening, of rediscovering our true selves hidden beneath the layers of daily routines and societal roles. It's about gazing into the mirror and, at last, recognizing not what has been lost, but rather what remains within us. That is a treasure to cherish.